Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got Luka and the Lakers. Giannis maybe still looking to leave Milwaukee. The Warriors, my goodness, their staring contest with Jonathan Kuminga. It rages on. This may be the greatest staring contest of all time. Plus, a little bit of news on what the Celtics are doing with their roster as well. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the NBA Front Office Show. Please make sure you guys do subscribe and turn on those notifications. As always, it's Keith Smith hanging out here. Keith, happy Monday, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's good to be back and back on our semi-regular schedule. We'll be fully back to it next week when school is in full here for us. But it's good to be kind of getting back into the routine again and all that good stuff with everything. It was funny. I put an article out on Spot Track today. There are still a lot of free agents out there.
There are.
You got the 4 big restricted free agents. We're going to talk about Kuminga, but you still got several veteran guys. Some of them are kind of tied to the restricted situations as well. And then we get the Giannis news. We get the Luka news over the weekend. So for the so-called dead period in the NBA, we still got quite a bit going on.
There are a number of interesting names still out there on the market right now, and that's certainly something we'll be talking about and monitoring as we get deeper into August. But let's start with the Giannis thing. So Shams Charania went on ESPN today and said, yeah, Giannis still hasn't decided whether or not he wants to be a Milwaukee Buck. And Keith, I know a lot of people just kind of slapped their foreheads in that moment, and they're like, seriously, we're still like, that's where, and I get that Giannis, there's a lot of equity built up with the Bucks. You know, he wouldn't want to make that a knee-jerk decision here, but the Bucks put a lot on the line by waiving and stretching Damian Lillard's salary. That's $22.5 million on their books for the next 5 years in dead money, so that they could sign Miles Turner, ideally to appease Giannis. The East is kind of what it is. The Bucks are kind of what they are. And Giannis still isn't sure whether or not he could win a championship with the Bucks. I don't fully understand what the holdup is at this point. We're not waiting for more to settle. Like Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton and some of these are good players, but the balance of power is not about to shift anywhere here. So I don't fully understand the holdup at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see the Bucks make any kind of major trade that doesn't involve Giannis, obviously, only because their roster is a whole lot of guys who they just re-signed. So a lot of those guys aren't even eligible to be traded yet. So they've got that. Turner obviously not going to be eligible to be traded for quite a while. So you've got them. It's kind of interesting, right? They lost Brook Lopez, replaced him with Miles Turner, lost Damian Lillard, in effect, kind of replaced him with Cole Anthony, Gary Harris. And then the entire rest of the roster is guys they re-signed. Now, not bad players. These are guys like Gary Trent and Kevin Porter Jr., obviously Taurean Prince, yep. And then they have still guys who are holdover players who weren't free agents like Kyle Kuzma, Andre Jackson. So we're in a spot where Milwaukee, they made some changes and they're more or less running it back. But yeah, if there's anything that we're waiting on where Giannis has any sense of like, well, let's see what they do next. I don't know that there is a next at this point. And I've seen some reaction from Bucks fans, which feels fair. Basically, so it's a very quiet NBA Monday. So let's just rerun the Giannis stuff. I will say this. Shams is way beyond needing engagement and clicks and all that stuff. He doesn't make things up for no reason. My guess is there probably is some level of ESPN coming to him and saying, hey, is anything new? And then he does a little digging and this is what he came up with. So, but I get why Milwaukee fans are frustrated and why they're like, I'm tired of this. Like, can we move on already? But it's going to be a story until training camp opens and he's on the floor with the Bucks.
Well, and here's the thing with all that, because this is not just sports related in general. This is kind of news related. But when we look at situations when there's news that comes out, a rumor that comes out, and we don't like the rumor, it's not positive about whatever it is that we care about, the immediate reaction that we see from a lot of people is to discredit the source of that rumor, wherever that's coming from. Oh, Shams is just making it up to get clicks. Well, that's Bucks fans who don't like to hear that Giannis is still unsure about the situation. And so that will be, and that's, again, that's not sports specific. That's across many genres, everything that we can look at, right? I think I've seen a lot of that too. A lot of, well, oh, Shams just wants clicks and all of that. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for him to do that. Are they looking for stuff to talk about? Sure, but let's face it, ESPN can also find lots of stuff to talk about. They are pretty good at doing that. So I don't get the sense that this is just put out there for no reason. I understand why Bucks fans would be frustrated about it. It doesn't mean Giannis is leaving, but to me, my frustration, it's obviously Bucks fans are not going to be frustrated with Giannis, but my frustration is not so much with Shams for putting out this report or for talking about this. It's for Giannis for not putting a stop to it.
Sure.
He talked to iShow Speed a few weeks ago, right? It was like, oh, I don't know. Like, he could put a stop to this in 5 seconds. One tweet. I'm staying with the Bucks. That's it. It's all over. Done. Right? Like, that's all it takes. And he has not done that. And so that, if you're frustrated that the story perpetuates, it's on Giannis to fix this or to end the story if he wants to. And maybe he doesn't want to.
Yeah, and that's it. And maybe he feels like, why do I need to, right? Maybe his assumption is, hey, you're not hearing me say I want traded, so why does everybody assume I want to be traded? So that's, part of this as well. So I think we're just in a spot with, let's see where all this goes. It's still going to be a thing. We'll decide if we need to come up with some quippy, fun little drop to put in the show if this kind of continues on. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we'll come up with something if we need to.
So, I got it.
Oh, there it is. What is it?
I got it. The Giannis yo-yo.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to be Giannis's face, and it's going to be bouncing back and forth between the Bucks and a trade. Yes. I need to find a way to get that made. Right.
So Trevor's going to get that made. Just gave himself more work. Like,
there's my August right there.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about it when things come out. Yeah, I get it. If people are frustrated, I understand. But it's when we're at this point in the off season, if we get even a little bit of news, we'll talk about it. You guys know we try to keep it a little light. With the Harden stuff, with the Damian Lillard stuff, with the Kevin Durant, like, we had a lot of fun with those, but we'll talk about them when they come up and just kind of go forward from there. So we'll see. I think the Bucks are still set up pretty well. I think they've got a pretty solid team here, especially given it's the East. I think, Giannis alone is worth so much. And then this is a pretty solid roster around him, even if it looks a little bit different. I do wonder, who is the guy, if not Giannis, who's going to really go get his own shot and get a bucket? Kuzma can do that some. Porter can do that some. But Cole Anthony's probably the next best guy after those three. Yeah. So you're just kind of, let's see what that looks like. But all around, pretty solid roster, given it's the East. And we'll see where it goes. And I think Shams also added that there were multiple teams that will line up offers if Giannis does become available. I think multiple, I would say 29 teams will at least make a phone call because it's Giannis. Sure. Guys like that don't come available very often. So, we'll see where that all goes. But for now, it kind of is what it is. And we'll continue to monitor.
Yeah. And we'll see ultimately where this goes. Now, a final thought here. If he decides, and I don't expect this to be where this goes, but if he decides he wants out, it's more difficult to move him now than it would have been a month ago, just in terms of roster flexibility around the NBA. Now, teams will move heaven and earth if they feel like they have a chance to get Giannis. Teams will try to create flexibility as best they can, but there's no question that if he really wants out, and clearly he's not decided on that, but if he really wants out, waiting until now probably didn't help that process.
Yeah, and it's a great point by you, and it is important to note that with these trades, like, I always say it's like Jurassic Park, right? Life finds a way. Jimmy Butler got traded on a max deal at the trade deadline when it looked like, how is this ever going to happen? That the teams will find a way. You still have the Brooklyn Nets sitting on 20 million plus in cap space. They need to jump in as a facilitator. I'm sure they're happy to do so, as long as a draft pick or young player comes their way. You've still got a bunch of teams with big trade exceptions, teams with the mid-level exception if they need to jump in. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It is more difficult, but if a team, if Giannis says he wants to go and a team's ready to go get him, they're going to go. And like we said from the beginning, if Giannis says I want traded, the Bucks the only thing they owe is to the Bucks to get the best possible deal that they can. They'll probably do their best to try to take care of Giannis to some extent, but they're going to send him where he wants to go. He doesn't have a no trade clause. He's not a pending free agent, so the things that normally those guys can kind of hold over a process, those don't really exist for him. So we'll see. My guess is they'll work together to some extent, provided that is the best offer that Milwaukee gets.
Right. Okay, let's jump over to from a rumor to something that did get done, and that was Luka Doncic extending with the Lakers. Not unexpected at this point. We certainly expect everything was pointing in that direction, but he does extend, and it was, despite reporting to the contrary a few weeks ago, it was on the deal that you and I both talked about on this show that made the most sense, and frankly, I think always made the most sense. It's the 2+1, 165 million for Luka, which will allow him to have a player option at his 10 years of service, which would allow him to hit that 35% max on a new contract. So I think that was to me the smart way to go for Luka in terms of structuring this contract. Makes a lot of sense, and that's ultimately what they did here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just I'll address something here real quick because a couple people have reached out and said, "Hey, I think your number's off on Spot Track. It doesn't equal the 165." The 165 is the absolute most he'll get if the cap goes up 10%. We're using the 7% cap growth. That's what the league provided. So we're starting him at 30% of the cap, which that is what he'll start at. That equals out to the 49.6 million because the cap is only projected to grow 7% next year. If it goes up 10%, we'll adjust. If the NBA changes their estimate in season, we'll adjust. But for now, we're running with what the official league estimate is. The number is not wrong. It's just we're running with a slightly different cap estimate. All that being said, Luka, this is the right deal for him. This gives him 2 years, or really 3 years if you count this year too.
Sure.
So 3 years with the Lakers, then he'll opt out. And my guess is at that point with the Lakers, he signs a full 35% of the cap max at that point, and off we go from there. And that's huge for him because that puts him in a position where this is how he maximizes the money. He could no longer get that so-called supermax because he was traded. So this means he's did basically the same thing Donovan Mitchell did, which was sign the shorter term extension, and then he'll hit the market again. No indication. I think you said it on when I joined you on Lakers Nation. It's 3 years is a lifetime in the NBA. Who knows what things will look like 3 years from now, but no indication he's gonna, doing this to get away from the Lakers. The only way that would have been a thing is if he had either not extended or if he had done like a 1+1, because that wouldn't have made a lot of sense. Then I would have said, all right, maybe he really is keeping options open. But this is just the best path forward for him, best path forward for the Lakers. They've got him under contract now. Now they can kind of orbit whatever comes next around. Luka is locked in. This is our star. This is our franchise guy moving forward.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And all the reporting right now has suggested that Luka wants to win, the Lakers want to win, LeBron would like to win right now as well. And so we'll see what the Lakers do here moving forward. They did, I think, have a pretty successful summer. Are they a top tier team in the West on paper? No, but they also kept essentially all of their trade assets available to them, despite making some, I think, additions to this team. When we look at or improvements, when you added in DeAndre Ayton, you had Marcus Smart, you had Jake LaRavia. We'll see what Adou Thiero is as a rookie. I have zero expectations on a second round pick to do something, but he is an intriguing athletic talent. So there's a number of players here on this roster that have expiring contracts as well. So I think there is a lot of flexibility. The phrase Rob Pelinka has used it quite a bit is optionality moving forward with this team. And so I would be surprised if this is the long-term roster for the Lakers, but this is kind of a mid-transition to Luka's team, Lakers, right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm not the biggest DeAndre Ayton fan in the world.
Yeah.
He is way better than anything the Lakers rolled out at center last year, even if he is exactly what he's been his entire career, right? Like, even as frustratingly inconsistent as he can be, the effort comes and goes, still better than anybody the Lakers rolled out. I mean, and I'm taking AD out of the mix, obviously,
Of
because
course.
that's,
You're
he's
talking
no
about
longer
post
part of
Luka
this.
trade.
But yeah, post Luka trade. Way better. So that's huge. And then you always have the idea of DeAndre Ayton. It's probably a little humbling that the Portland Trailblazers paid him a whole lot of money to go away. And then there was, we don't exactly know because he agreed with the Lakers relatively quickly, but there was no one out there saying, here's the full mid-level, here's cap space, here's, we're going to arrange to do something. That sometimes humbles guys. And then, yeah, when you show up to the gym with Luka and LeBron every day, they're not going to accept much less than your best every night. So yeah, I think we are going to see DeAndre Ayton play the best basketball he's played since he had Chris Paul in his ear every single day, kind of yelling at him and pushing him to give his best. And that's huge. LaRavia, really nice pickup for very little money on the wing, comparatively so. And then I thought, hey, spending the biannual exception's a good dice roll on Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how much he has left. If he can stay healthy, if he can, he's, pretty wide margin, the best defensive guard on the roster, and he'll play a lot because he's just very switchable. So you can play him in a whole bunch of lineups with Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves and everybody else. So yeah, considering there wasn't a lot to work with here, pretty solid summer.
Yeah, agreed on that. And I'm the same spot with Ayton. Like I talked about before the Lakers got him, that the motor concerns were real, and they definitely showed up on film. When I started doing a deep dive on him, I'm like, man, you can see areas where he just wasn't putting forth 100% effort. That was frustrating. If he is ever going to do it, though, it's going to be now because of all the stuff that you just mentioned. So we'll see.
And he was great when Chris Paul was yelling at him every day.
Phenomenal.
Like, really good. It's the best he's played in his career. And then, he went to Portland where it's kind of, hey, you're the guy here now with this really young Blazers team. And clearly that's not what he's cut out to be. Here it's going to be just be big. Be around the rim on both ends of the floor. Get rebounds. Do that, and we'll take care of the rest. I mean, he's going to, if he just rolls hard and into the correct spaces, the ball will be there for him, whether that's Luka or LeBron or Smart or Austin Reeves. Really good playmakers. They'll all get him the ball. I mean, I won't be shocked at all if DeAndre Ayton puts up like 18 and 10 or 18 and 12 on really, really good efficiency night to night. And I know that's kind of around his numbers anyway, but that it's more the efficiency side of it. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of 7-8 dribble fall away jump shots out of a post up where he dribbles himself into a fall away 18 footer. Cause I think there's a couple guys who might say, hey, no, don't do that. Or they're going to look to JJ and say, get him out, put in somebody else instead.
I don't want to get into a super deep dive on DeAndre Ayton, but that's exactly when I was looking at his shot diet. My God, his percentages improves. He is so much more efficient if he just cuts out that shot. He cuts out that one shot, and he is way more efficient as a player. So I agree with you, though. I think that I have a feeling he's going to be getting that glare from LeBron if he's taking that shot on the Lakers.
Yeah. Just roll hard to the rim. Just be big around the basket. That's all you need to do. The ball will be there.
All right, let's jump over to the Golden State Warriors and their seemingly never-ending battle with Jonathan Kuminga. But Keith, I think the Warriors, I talked about this over on Basketball Bulletin, like the reporting from Tim Kawakami today was that and this was backed up a few days ago by another report that had come out, but the Warriors are effectively saying, oh, no, we're shutting down sign and trade talks now. I don't completely buy that. Some of that could be, hey, we're shutting them down, like we're walking away from the table and we're hoping to get that will entice Sacramento or whoever to provide a better offer. But it does feel like there's a degree of the Warriors really not buying that Jonathan Kuminga would actually pick up his qualifying offer. They are kind of daring him to pick it up here with this. If they are shutting down trade opportunities, they're basically saying, hey, you can either pick up the qualifying offer or you can sign a very team-friendly contract with us that we control, and we don't think that you're actually going to take the qualifying offer. So whenever you're ready to sign, there it is.
Yeah, this one is interesting, and I wrote extensively about Kuminga and the Warriors and how this is holding up the Warriors' other stuff. The Warriors are the only team in the NBA who has not added a single new player
Yeah.
to the roster since the start of the offseason. And that's all because of Kuminga. And just to give a very brief explainer on it, we talked about this a little bit on our Friday show when someone asked about it. But basically, the Warriors don't want to go out and sign, let's say they do what the Lakers did. They split the non-tax between Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton. That would hard cap them at the first apron with not a lot of room under that. I think it'd be about 14 million or so. At that point, well, then the Brooklyn Nets are like, hey, 17 million for Kuminga sounds pretty good. Let's throw him that offer sheet, knowing unless the Warriors make another move, they can't match that. They would be stuck. They would have to let him go. That's where I think you could see that change a little bit with that one. So that is where, man, that one got you, huh? Man's getting.
I'm dying
about Kuminga over here. He's drowning.
I'm getting all choked up.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were so passionate about Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency.
I really am. I mean, this is the story around the NBA right now. Right. Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency. It's I was just demonstrating what the Warriors believe Jonathan Kuminga will do. He's going to choke when it comes time to pick up the qualifying offer. There it is. I found it.
There it is. That's kind of where we're at this point in restricted free agency. Now you're kind of playing a game of chicken, right? It's like qualifying offer staring you in the face. Like, are you really going to sign it? Now, Kuminga put out, and then I think his agency even shared it. Like, I'm very willing to bet on myself for something like that. So, and that is what you do if you sign the qualifying offer. Just as a rehash for those, or if you're new to the show and didn't know this, you sign the qualifying offer. That is a 1-year contract. You would have full bird rights at the end. And in that case, because you would lose those bird rights if you're traded, the player gets a full no trade clause for the year. So he would be able to block any trade. And that's why I think Kuminga has been very reluctant to do. The Warriors have reportedly been proposing a lot of 2-year deals with team options, but those are effectively 1-year deals. And part of what's been the sticking point in those has been the Warriors have said, you need to waive your no trade clause.
Yeah.
You know, Kuminga's like, hey, I don't want to do what I've termed is essentially a delayed sign and trade, which is I signed for even $20 million. You're going to trade me whenever you feel like it. And now I have no say in where I go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lose my bird rights. It's going to be really tough if the other team doesn't pick up the option and all that stuff. So this one's tough. So everything's kind of on hold. The Warriors have 6 open roster spots on their standard roster. They have 9 players under standard contracts right now. So a lot of work to still be done there. Now, they'll get there very quickly because as soon as this resolves, it's probably going to be Horford and Melton and I think Gary Payton II. There's 3 of them. I'll end with this. I don't understand the problem from the Warriors side with the Malik Monk and even a protected first, as long as it's not ridiculously protected as a trade offer. I think that's pretty good value. I'm very high on Malik Monk. Yeah. I think he's a really good player. I think he'd be very helpful
for the
Warriors, but I just don't get it.
It's his contract. It goes 3 years. They don't want 3 years. They want 2027 cap room.
But it's like $20 million in the last year. Who cares?
Sure.
Like that's not. I mean,
just to play devil's advocate, we're also seeing an NBA where what Malik Monk does is, I think we're in the process of seeing his specific skill set get devalued around the league. We're talking about guards who struggle a bit defensively, but can score in bunches, aren't necessarily the best creators, but can create a look like look what's going on with Cam Thomas right now. Yep. Cam Thomas is like you're like, hey, why is Tyler Hero getting $30 million and I'm not? And the rest of the NBA is looking and going, because we don't want to give you $30 million, right? Like that.
In reality, is no one would want to give Tyler Hero $30 million at this point either, probably.
Yeah, and so that's I think part of the issue, but I do think that that's not a terrible offer. And there's been some rumblings about like could you change the protections? Could you be would the Warriors do it if it was an unprotected pick? What if it was top 6 protected instead of lottery, or top 7 or whatever instead of lottery protected? Like there's different ways that you could slide that scale and maybe find a deal somewhere in the middle. But I also look at this and I think one of the issues with the qualifying offer for Jonathan Kuminga, as much as he says I want to bet on myself, I'm okay with betting on myself, that may be well and true, but is he okay with betting on the Warriors? Because
Sure.
we have to remember that he doesn't believe the Warriors are using him the right way. He doesn't believe he's getting the
Nope.
opportunity he should be getting in Golden State. So if he picks up that qualifying offer and how much money, how valuable he is on his next contract is going to be determined by how he plays this coming season. How much does he trust the Warriors to use him in a way that will allow him to
Great
have the
point.
kind of season that he wants to have? That has got to be a sticking point too for Jonathan Kuminga. If he knew he was a lock for 35 minutes a night, he probably just takes the qualifying offer and says, "Cool, let's go. I'm betting on myself." He doesn't know what for sure what that role is going to look like playing behind Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, he's had periods where he hasn't even been in the rotation.
Yeah,
Like when he's fully healthy, they're not playing. Steve Kerr has dropped him from the rotation. So yeah, if you're Kuminga, that's certainly a concern because your challenge comes in with that of, all right, what am I going to do here? Like if I'm not playing, what is the situation then? Right? Like
right.
where do I go from here if they're not going to play me? And that's certainly an issue, right? That he's going to have to look at and figure it out because to your point, yeah, if he knew I'm getting minutes every night, even if he's not starting, but he's playing consistent
Yeah,
amount of minutes every night, I'll show what I can do. But if it's going to turn into, hey, tonight's one of those nights where we're sitting Curry and Butler and Green and go run around for 40 minutes and do your thing, but that happens once every 2 weeks. And then on the other nights, it's foul trouble or injuries. This is how you get a roll. Yeah, I probably wouldn't really want that either. So
okay.
I don't think this one's going to resolve. That said, every time you get to August, every day you get a little bit closer to September, another day closer to the player just saying, I'm just signing the qualifying offer. And we go. I still think something's going to happen with a sign and trade here. Yeah. I think the Warriors are too good. They've put too much into kind of making a run with the core group there to not do what they can to build that up and supplement it. That you need to do something, and then we kind of see where it goes from there with that. Well, what does that look like? Maybe that's the Kings, maybe it's somebody else, and we go forward. Kings is on the Kings side of that too. I kind of get why they're into this idea. Just then you got to do what's the follow-up move?
Yeah,
Because
you have to do something else.
Yeah, because what are you going to do with Kuminga and Keegan Murray and DeMar DeRozan? They're all essentially 3-4 guys,
Yeah.
and like you can't really play them all. And DeRozan's days of sliding to the 2 they're pretty much done because that's where Zach LaVine is. So where are you gonna put Zach LaVine at the 1? And I don't know. The Kings roster is just a little weird. It feels like there's more to come with them too as far as a rebalance trade comes.
Agreed. All right, let's finish things up with your Celtics. They're leaving a roster spot open. A lot of teams do this, but what's the rationale here for Boston leaving a spot open?
Yeah, when they waived J.D. Davison last week before, whenever it was while I was traveling, they waived him, and that opened up a roster spot and, crucially, got them under the second apron. They're under the second apron now by about $1.9 million. The importance of that number is that's not enough to sign a player to a veteran minimum deal. So the Celtics are very likely to just say, just let it run. We'll figure it out later. But that's close enough where by the time you get to like January, you can sign a player and fit that contract in underneath the second apron. So they may kind of let it play out a little bit. Let's see, maybe one of the two-way guys pops and they feel good about converting one of them. Maybe they just wait on it. So we'll see. The one thing that Celtics fans are a little wondering about is Amari Williams, who was one of their second-round picks, played pretty well in Summer League. He is not signed. The initial conversation was he's going to sign a two-way contract as a second-rounder this year. But what's happened ultimately was I think they're just leaving that a little bit flexible because they do not have a lot at the center position. Right now, it's kind of Nemias Queta, Luka Garza, and Xavier Tillman. And that's really it, which is not very good. So I think they're really in a spot where it is, hey, let's kind of leave this open. And if we can fit Williams in on the standard roster, we'll do that. If not, then we still have the two-way. We can put him on. The other guy I'll mention, Charles Bassey, played great for the Celtics in Summer League, looked really, really good. And a lot of people have been saying, why haven't they signed him yet? I got questions even yesterday about why have they not put him on a two-way. Bassey's not two-way eligible.
Mhm.
That's why on that part. And then the other part is, again, they don't want to go right back over the second apron. Right now, they've worked very hard to get under it. So I think you're probably going to see them let that 14th roster spot ride for a while, and then eventually they'll figure something else out down the line. But by all accounts, they're still open to moving other guys on the roster. It sounds like Anthony Simons, George Niang, they're open to moving those guys. Those guys were not necessarily acquired as, true basketball players, even though I think Boston does like them to some extent. I think the bigger part of that news is they were acquired as part of their salary shedding moves, and then those guys can be part of something down the line in the future with other trades.
Right. That makes sense.
A lot of
Well,
roster spots open around
there
the league,
are.
though. I mean,
But a lot of players still available. I mean,
Mhm.
Malcolm Brogdon. Why is Amir Coffey still sitting out? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
You're
still some
looking for
stuff
big
coming
guys. You
here.
get like Trey Lyles and Chris Boucher
Yeah.
and Precious Achua. Like, no. I mean, I think,
Nobody's changing the course of a
yeah, I think
season or anything
clearly
like that, but these
the
guys should be on the team.
the best free agent available that's not one of the restricted guys is Al Horford. And right now, everybody's like, well, he's just going to the Warriors, so
Right.
that'll resolve when it resolves. But even a guy like Ben Simmons is out there that could maybe help a team. So
Russell
it's
Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook as well. Yeah, you mentioned Brogdon. I love Amir Coffey. Like, feels
Yeah.
like someone's going to get a really good steal with him. Like, he's an actual playable rotation wing, and
Yeah.
there were not a lot of those available this summer. So that'll be a little bit interesting to watch, how that one plays out. But still quite a few guys aside from the four big restricted guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So still things to come here around the NBA. And of course, if you guys want to stay on top of it, make sure that you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Let me
I want to
throw
thank,
in one quick thing.
yeah,
I did a little bit of crowdsourcing on social media, but I'll put it here on the YouTube channel and let our people who only really follow the channel here chime in the comments.
if they're still listening right now, you know they're the real ones.
Yeah, then you're the real ones. You're hanging in here in NB August here with this. Obviously, content may be a little bit light. So one of the things that I had requests from people to do on the show, and we'll do this if you guys think it's a good idea. Twitter and Blue Sky seem to like the idea, so hopefully our YouTube fans will as well. We want to take a team's off season. So let's say the Milwaukee Bucks, and really break it down step by step how they put their moves together to put their roster together. And this is like getting real nerdy, real deep in the weeds here with renouncing free agents and the wave and stretch. And what I'll do is I'll build out, here's their initial cap sheet to start the summer. Here's what it looked like after these moves. Here's what it looked like after these ones. And we'll break them all down and go through all of it step by step to go through. If you guys think that's interesting, I thought that could be a fun way to spend a show when we don't have a lot of newsy topics to get into. So let us know what you guys think about that one, and we'll go about putting those together here for over the next few weeks.
All right. So fire that off in the comments section down below. Thank you again, everybody. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.